So this was a thing on NBA Twitter last night. D. Rose, Westbrook, and Kyrie, all in their prime, start, cut, bench, whatever. It did get a little heated, mainly because Westbrook is involved, and there are some Westbrook fans and Westbrook haters who take anything related to Westbrook like way too intensely, to the point where it's like, bro, you need to like go turn the lights off and do some yoga or something. But anyway, I think it's an interesting conversation nonetheless. Obviously this is prime D. Rose, so if I ever make a comment of like, well, if D. Rose was playing, well, he technically is playing under the rules of today's game. But you know what I mean, no injuries, all that stuff. So I'm going to start Derrick Rose. The 2011 Bulls, which is really like the 1 year we got to see prime what could have been Derrick Rose, was not a good offensive team. They were 11th in offensive rating, and spacing was terrible. I mean, Boozer, yeah, he gave him 17 and 10, but post-ups, chilling around the rim, mid-range. We've come to learn, not the ideal thing when you've got a downhill point guard, right? I mean, if prime Derrick Rose was playing today, it'd be him and a center and shooting, and that'd be that. And it'd be a lot of threes, floor would be spaced out. I think he would be shooting 10, 11 free throws a game, probably averaging around 30 points or so. His playmaking was very good. Not like Chris Paul levels of a passer, but certainly better than, your average like Reggie Jackson type of point guard, I guess. And I feel like the dude would just be kind of unstoppable, especially because I think his threes would have continued to get better. You know what I mean? Like in 2011, third year, he went from being a non-shooter to shooting 33% on 5 threes a game. And a decent amount of them were like pull-ups and stuff. And while I don't think he would have become like Kyrie from outside, I think he could have been, I don't know, maybe 6 threes a game on 36% or so, and shooting some pull-ups, and perhaps his mid-range, like his pull-up mid-range off of screens if you're going to go under, perhaps those could have gotten better as well. So, and he was very good defensively. So I just think he would have had such an all-around game that he would just be routinely one of the 5 or 6 best players in the league, I mean, it's tough to remember now, but he had to work so hard to score on that Bulls team because he was the only dude who could do anything off the dribble. Now, of course, I can say similar things about some teams that Westbrook has had the past couple of years, so we'll get to that. But I still think D. Rose, projecting what he was at 22 years old in 2011 with a team that was not built around him to get better, that's my guy, number one. The Westbrook-Kyrie thing is very interesting, though, because you can poke holes in both, right? With Kyrie, we've seen him healthy with no LeBron, and it was the first couple years with Cleveland, not good, and then the bit with the Celtics, right? And, I mean, many things have been talked about last year's Celtics. I don't think it's any one person's fault, but Kyrie, yeah, he deserves some blame, no doubt about it. And then as for the first Celtics season, I feel like Kyrie doesn't get enough credit for this. Like, they were 41-19 with him. That's pretty damn great. Just want to point that one out. Of course, they went on the big run without him, but who's to say they wouldn't have gotten to the finals with Kyrie, you know what I mean? I mean, if they pushed LeBron to the last minute of Game 7 without him, just saying. But of course, that's the unknown, and the known is the year after happened. And then as for this year, I mean, 20 games with the Nets, and it wasn't awesome, but I mean, are we really going to do anything with 20 games? I'm not going to. And it's all the normal things, right? Like, is Kyrie a good enough passer? Does it even matter because of how good of a shot maker he is? Is he a good leader? Is his defense terrible? Answer, sometimes, yeah. And but we've also seen him next to LeBron James, where the dude was right there with LeBron, slicing up the amazing Warriors defense that could switch everything and has a bunch of dudes 6'6" and up. Iguodala, Draymond, Clay, Harrison Barnes, later turned into Kevin Durant. It's a pretty loaded defensive team, you know what I mean? At least when they were carrying. And Kyrie, he did it. Put up a lot of points. Yeah, the Cavs got washed because there was just nobody was going to beat those Warriors teams with KD. But, Kyrie did what he could. And I think that matters. But is it as valuable as what we've seen Westbrook do? Westbrook, of course, Westbrook's best regular season is better than Kyrie's best regular season, no doubt about it. How much should we be killing Westbrook for losing in round one the past couple years? I don't know. I mean, his efficiency numbers in those round ones, they're terrible, no doubt about it. However, similar to Derrick Rose, the teams that Westbrook had around him were not optimally built for him. You're talking about Andre Robertson, and what was the starting lineup of the 2017 Thunder? Let me look at it. That round one series against the Rockets, they lost in 5 games. Starting 5, Andre Robertson, Oladipo before he got good, Taj Gibson, and Steven Adams. I mean, there is no spacing there at all. And Westbrook averaged 37, 11, and 11. Now, even so, his efficiency was bad. But at a certain point, I think you got to give a guy the Jason Kidd thing, which is like, yeah, your efficiency is sometimes bad, but we know overall you're making a positive impact. I can't kill Westbrook when he's got that team around him and he's putting up those numbers in that round one. I just can't do it. His team was built so poorly around him. I mean, the same things I can say about D Rose. Get more shooting in there. Well, I mean, good lord, it was like at least D Rose still had like Carlos Boozer, who was a competent offensive player. You know what I mean? Like Oladipo averaged 10 points in that round one series for Westbrook, and I know people are going to use those round one losses against Westbrook in this kind of conversation, and there's still validity in them. And by the way, there's 2 others that I haven't talked about yet, but I don't think it's that simple. I don't think it's just simply flamed out round one, that's it. Also, can we give Westbrook some credit for the years when KD was his teammate, and there were conversations about both of them being top 5 players? I mean, I know the Westbrook haters of the world, of which I have sometimes walked the fence on, I will admit, they would not want to accept the fact that at one time it was pretty common knowledge to just be like, oh yeah, Westbrook, top 5 guy. No question. You know what I mean? Now, to go along with that, there was also a whole lot of conversation about why is Westbrook shooting and why does Durant not have the ball as much? Fair. So, yeah. I don't know, it's an interesting thing, right? Like, who would you trust more with your team if they're healthy between Kyrie and Russ? I mean, I think it's fair to say Westbrook has done more of carrying teams that aren't that good than Kyrie has, certainly. But we've also seen Kyrie in very difficult situations come through. And he also hit, of course, one of the biggest shots in the history of sports. So, I don't know. I've seen on Twitter, I've seen people be like, oh, it's clearly Westbrook, it's clearly Kyrie. If you pick one, you don't know basketball, which that's always what? Shut up, okay? But, I think, you know what I think? And I know the Rockets have lost 4 in a row since the year ended or whatever it was. I feel like we finally saw the team around Westbrook that he should have, which was spacing and 3-point shooting and all that. And we saw how much better he was for the Rockets. And it kind of makes me think the what if of those OKC years, you know what I mean? On top of the fact that he was still really good in those OKC years, even if the round ones didn't go always his way. So I think I'm going to go start D Rose, bench Westbrook, cut Kyrie. And I'll probably just end the video before I talk myself into a different scenario. So, yeah. I think it's a cool exercise, just to kind of get your brain working about these different players and people are always going to have different perceptions and interpretations of the same thing. You know what I mean? It's a big reason why I don't bother with the MJ LeBron argument, because it's like, it's the same 12 things just thrown back and forth both ways forever. It's like, what's even the point? And I did see that happening a bit on Twitter, but I think the Soul conversation, I think, is kind of interesting. So, there you go.